is in the chat, Ashley Nebel. And generic YouTube name here. 503, Menagerie, Reptilia Exotics, and Guaranane here. Welcome. That's looking a little dark. I'm not sure if it's just that's a little better, I think. I'm just playing around with the lights a little bit. And there you go. That works better. Right here, I'm going to be moving things around and experimenting. So everyone let me know how my mic is sounding. This is my new mic. I think I've got all the bugs worked out. So Kevin Zay, Marie Holland, is that how you say your name? Aqua Garden Zen, hello. So please give me an indication that you can hear me, everyone. Sounds great. Okay, excellent. Thank you, 503, for letting me know. Mackenzie, welcome. Random T. Just call me Orange. Real Desert Beetle Hours. Okay. So, yep, AV is working. Great. What we've got over here is the first indication of feeding activity by a very large, I think this is an Ileodes obscurus. I'm not entirely sure. This one is one from Peter at Bugs in Cyberspace. Let's see. I can focus in there. Munching on some beetle jelly, also from Bugs in Cyberspace. So it's probably the biggest beetle in the enclosure. Cool thing, this is my wireless mic. So I'm not going to be stomping on things anymore. I'm so excited for that. Let's just zoom out a little bit so we can get an idea of what's going on here. Don't have to look at the aquarium underneath there. Okay, so I'm just kind of trying to zoom out just a little bit so we can see what's going on in the tank at large. I've got on the left a feeding station with some dog food. It looks like the larger velvet ant, the Desmodilla satanus, just crawled on it. Okay, sorry, the tripod's acting up just a little bit. But, okay, just had a question in the chat about my little shelter, and I want to show everyone the one you're talking about. It's in a different enclosure at the moment, so that's why it's not visible, but I'm going to bring it over. Looks like a Star Wars little enclosure, or little shelter. Super cool, hollow inside so beetles and velvet ants can hide in it, and they do like it. This one was from one of our viewers who sent it with me. I purchased some velvet ants from him, and I think it was I Love Bugs was his YouTube name, and he sent that as just kind of a bonus with the velvet ants some time ago. So pretty cool little thing. 3D printed. So that was for Kevin who asked that. There we go. Oh, it looks like the beetle has righted itself. Good. That is another, I think that's an Ileodes, but I'm not entirely sure. Oh, we got another beetle munching on the other large Ileodes obscurus, I think, munching on some dog food. I just moistened that dog food and put that in just to hopefully so that they would get kind of excited about life and we could witness some feeding behavior. And definitely we're getting that. Hopefully the velvets will do that too. So Eileen O'Donnell's here too. Welcome. And Ashley Nebel is asking, how often do they get fed? Or is there always food readily available? Well, this beetle jelly here, you can see on the right, that's offered free choice. It's always there. I might take it out for an hour or two between switching it, but essentially it's always there. Nectar Feeders, that's about 1 part sugar to 3 parts water and a tiny bit of salt for electrolytes. That is there for the velvet ants 24/7. The dog food, I usually have some dry dog food in there. I just added the moist dog food because that seems to elicit a better feeding response. And they do nibble on the dry dog food too, though. And then several times a week, you see the remnants of them over there. My daughter, as part of her chores, I pay her to put, to feed these guys. I'm the one who usually puts the beet jelly, and she puts the nectar, and she puts in bits of vegetables. So you can see some dried carrots and some dried sweet potatoes, that kind of thing. I'll put that in there, have her put it down in a couple times a week as well. So there's always food of one kind or another in here, but things like the dog food, the moist dog food gets added, but it's not there all the time. So Luna's here. Excellent. Clognog. Scurry. Oh, yes. And your name fits with the flurry of activity that they're providing too. I hope that the camera's not making too much noise as I move it around. I just want you to get a good look at what's going on because it's kind of fun. I love this. It reminds me a little bit of being in the desert. Let's see. And Clementine, first time on a live stream. Well, welcome. How's your blue death feigning beetle breeding project going? I've got some of my own, and I've been watching your playlist. Well, the project was a success. Oh, here is another beetle that's coming along. You'll see soon. This is hopefully, unless he goes into the cholla wood over there. We'll see. Maybe he'll make his way over here. The rough death feigning beetle. Anyway, it has been going. I have temporarily paused the breeding project, not because it wasn't working. I produced adult beetles successfully. It worked. But then I was focusing on my garter snake breeding project, and had to take down the incubator temporarily. And I also moved the adult beetles of the blue death feigning beetles into here. You've probably seen a few of them wandering around. Did that as well, and that kind of curtailed the breeding project for a little while, but I do have a breeding container set up for the blue death feigning beetles. It's all ready to go, completely ready. I just need to drop them in again and get things started. So I will say that I'm really excited, not only that mine were, not only that they reproduced, but that I've had a lot of people who have used the instructions that I published on my playlist and produced a lot of beetles. Someone sent me a message today. Their 25th blue death feigning beetle emerged. Awesome. They're captive born and bred blue death feigning beetle, 25th. So I need to get my space set up again to do that. Sounds like Clognog's beetle pupae are coming along. This substrate is just play sand in this one. I don't do that in my breeding enclosure. I add some other things to the play sand, but this one's just play sand. And Ashley, that was for Aqua Gardens Inn. Ashley is asking if it's dry enough that nothing will get moldy. That has been my experience. I live in a dry climate. I can't say that that would always be the same for everybody, but in my particular situation, I never get mold in this enclosure ever. Never seen it. It's just everything dries out. You put the carrots and stuff in here, the sweet potatoes, they're dry within 24 hours. And I'm not joking. So it's pretty dry. Let's see. Kevin is asking, Kevin Zay, what type of incubator do you have? I have a Hovabator, the type for reptiles, so it doesn't have the air circulation, and it seems to work great. Clognog, all your beetles are the same type. Now remind me, do you have Aleotis armata? Is that the one that you're breeding? Mackenzie says your ironclads love banana cream pie rapashi. Oh, cool. Your diabolical ironclads? That's awesome. I just saw one of my diabolical ironclads marching around in here. I don't see it right now. There are a lot more beetles in here than you see. A lot of them wait till it's dark. I wonder what that velvet ant's doing, my Dasymutilus atenus, if she is drinking some water, if she's drinking water that has dog food in it and she's excited about that. It does look like she's drinking water, but I don't know. So, Natty the Panda, hello. Doing well and glad to see you here. Raw Nature, greetings and welcome. Aqua Gardens in high desert. Yep, it stays very dry for sure. Young Lad, greetings. And Vocabulous, hello. I had a nice Thanksgiving with the family. It was very fun, relaxing. Not a long enough break, but it was a break and I enjoyed having one. Never is long enough, is it? Okay, so Clognog, yeah, the Aleotis armata, which are cool. I have several of them in here. I don't see a single one right now, illustrative of, the fact that the community that you see changes depending on what's going on and just random chance as well. If you look over here, you can see one of my blue death feigners right there hanging out. There were quite a few of them wandering around a minute ago. I wonder if it had to do with the light. I turned off the light for a minute and a bunch of them came out. But that's the way it is. You never know what you're going to get with different lights. I could try decreasing the light intensity, seeing what we see. I love these the big old Aleotis armata climbing out there in the back. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it well. It's kind of hiding. Here comes my rough death fanning beetle. He's hiding. Here, I don't know if it's a male or female, but was hiding. I'm going to move things around. I'm taking it out of the clip so I can be just a little bit more flexible about where I go, and I'll try not to bounce around too much. But I think I can focus better on certain things, like on this big old Eusadius beetle. That's fun. And the little velvet ant next to it. And the big velvet ant right over here. The incredibly fuzzy Dasimutilla satanus. This was from Bees in Your Backyard, who's my cousin. He focuses on studying wasps of various types, including velvet ants, especially velvet ants, but he studies lots of other wasps and bees too. I guess all bees are wasps, but not all wasps are bees. And velvet ants aren't ants at all, but wasps. Okay. Oh, diving beetle? Yeah, Nettie the panda. Those are super cool. I've seen some. Harlequin beetle, love those. Would love to get some someday. And the desert weevil. Not sure about that one, if I know that one or not. So Clognug, do the velvet ants only need sugar, water, and water? Well, the velvet ants spend an awful lot of time munching on this beetle jelly too. They seem to be able to get along okay on the sugar water because being adults, they don't really need protein or anything like that because they're not using it to grow. They mostly just need carbs to keep going. But there is some protein in here in the beetle jelly, and they eat that too. They also nibble on other things. They'll nibble on veggies and fruit that I put in here as well. Greetings, Patch. Breeding a few of my cresties now. Thinking about breeding, Kevin. Just thinking about breeding a few cresties. After this is going to focus on that Thamnophis sertalis cosinus, the garter snake species. Is that what we're thinking of? What did my bugs eat for Thanksgiving? Anything special? I'm trying to remember. Well, I did give some of them some shrimp that was part of our Thanksgiving celebration. And I offered some shrimp tails and shrimp to some of the bugs, quite a few of the isopods and the some of the beetles and stuff, and they really enjoyed that. So Ashley's getting fuzzy. Is this looking fuzzy to anybody else? Let's see, focus is off? Huh. I'm not sure why. It's not looking focus offy to me. That was a weird construction I just produced there. It's not looking particularly out of focus to me. I'm wondering what's going on. It may be the bandwidth. Not sure. Got a lot of people though. Got 41 people in the stream, 19 likes. Can we get a like spike, everybody? That'll get a lot more people watching if we can get a like spike. Let's do it. Oh, so Aqua Garden Zen, yeah, there's some large beetles called toe biters, but there are also some large true bugs called toe biters. Both aquatic and very, very large, so it could be either way. Ooh, we did get a nice like spike. Thank you. That's awesome. So, saguaro blossoms. What do you suggest for a 5-gallon aquarium for a dorm room? They don't want fish because of the care required. So you're looking at invertebrates, specifically non-aquatic invertebrates? Oh, here come a bunch of blue death fanning beetles out. Well, more than there were before a minute ago. On the prowl. I think this one's heading for the dog food. I hope so. That'd be fun to see. See if it gets there. Well, if you're looking at invertebrates, you could actually do blue death fanning beetles or some other desert beetles in a 5-gallon. 5 gallons is not bad for a group. You could easily do half a dozen of most types of desert beetles in there, even more. You could do 10, 12 in there, and they do pretty well. Oh yeah, there are plenty of carnivorous beetles, and I've had some. I have a fiery searcher. If you haven't checked out the video on my fiery searcher, it is a cool one. Very, very good hunter. A beetle that will take large superworms and things like that. It's very cool. Do you need the federal permit to keep or sell these bugs? I don't think you need a permit to keep them. To ship them across state lines, it probably depends. I don't really sell them, so I don't have to worry about it as much. sell the isopods, so I do have to worry about that. Okay, so at least producing fuzziness. It seems like it's working for some of you in some places. So that's good. Is it okay if I'm holding it? I feel like I can get closer up to things and you can see them a little bit better. Oh, here's one of my Eusadius Murakatus, tiny little dune buggy beetles. It's not the same genus as the Edrotis dune buggy beetles, but they're very similar in many respects. They're a little bigger, less glossy. Also pretty active little guys. A lot smaller than most of the other beetles in here. So Aquarium Zen, what size this enclosure? This is a 20-gallon long. Let me give you kind of the tour here. Okay. This is here. This is a halogen bulb. I think I got a 25-watt halogen bulb in this fixture here, and then this is an aquarium light just for light. It's not producing a whole lot of heat that gets into the tank, but this does. Provides this really nice basking spot, which, as you can see, the beetles will some of the beetles we use, and then the velvet ants use it a lot, especially in the mornings. So AB, we're going to have to figure out what's going on there if it's not very clear for this stream, but it is for others, because I'm not sure what's going on there. And this backdrop, it's pretty cool. I like it too. This is actually just the stock background from PetSmart, but I like it. It worked out well because it fits the situation. This is basically, the same kind of territory that a lot of these critters come from. So, do velvet ants have stingers? Indeed, they do. Velvet ant stingers are longer than, they're one of the longest stingers in the entire order. Any kind of wasp, bee, anything like that. They have one of the longest stingers for their body length. They have crazy long stingers. They're not particularly aggressive about stinging, but they can certainly do it, and it's quite an intense sting, too. So it cleared up when I backed up. I wonder what's going on there. Okay. Yeah, I've got a few small stones in here. I'm trying not to do too many big stones. Part of the reason is because this is my portable enclosure. I brought this to a reptile expo. The last time I went to a reptile expo, I brought this as part of my educational presentation, and I need to be able to move it easily, so I couldn't use any big stones. Just got a couple of small ones in there. But yeah, I have more stone in my breeding one for my blue deathwing beetles. I want to show you this guy right here. Everybody see that? That is my diabolical ironclad beetle, one of them. That's my smaller one. I've got two of them in here. They're super cool. Also came from bugs in cyberspace. Peter has the coolest things. Seriously. A lot of these creatures came from bugs in cyberspace. And how many species are in the setup? I'm not sure, to be honest. I've got at least 3 species of velvet ants in here. Probably at least 12 to 15 species of beetles, but I'm not sure exactly of the number. Oh, limited to 720p on your end. That makes sense, Kevin. Oh, the rhinoceros beetles are awesome. And theropod hunter. Welcome. So Clognog, I'm not sure exactly why the stinger is so long in velvet ants, but it certainly confers a lot of maneuverability. They have a very strong exoskeleton. It's hard to crush them. And then if they're grabbed by any part of their body, they can pretty much still sting, which I think is part of their defense. And theropod hunter velvet ants are close to indestructible for an insect. They're really hard to crush. Their sting is formidable. They're kind of amazing. There are not very many things that can successfully prey on them. Oh, you're talking about the ironclad beetle. Yes, the ironclad beetle is also very difficult to crush. Very, very difficult indeed. So, sorry, I got off of topic. We're talking about a lot of things, I guess, here. I've heard stories about ironclad beetles being run over by a car and not having any particular problems with it. So Dallin Watson got some blue death feigning beetles a few months ago. Most of them, what they do is hide. Okay, that's not entirely outside the realm of possibility with blue death feigning beetles, but let's see what else you have to say here. They haven't turned blue even in very low humidity. Now that is a warning sign. Here, I'm going to put this back on the tripod for stability now, if you don't mind. It's going to take me a moment, but I'll get there. And then I'll aim it at something interesting, hopefully, and not just at the background. See what we can see. There's the Eusadius Murakatus. Let's see if I can get up closer to what's going on. There, that's not bad. I'll move it around too. We can see other things going on, hopefully, as well. How about that? Now you can see a lot of critters. Okay, so let's see. You may have something that's not a death feigning beetle if it hasn't turned blue in low humidity, and they're always hiding. That's possible. I mean, they tend to hide more in the winter, especially if it's cooler. They do sort of brewmate. So it could be that. But the fact that they're not changing color, they're not in a low humidity, are not bluish, is a little weird. Well, Natty the Panda, I think the idea of grass and biodiversity, green spaces are definitely going to increase biodiversity in metropolitan areas, and especially if it's allowed to grow a little bit and get some more diversity in terms of species, so not just grass, but some weeds and other things growing in there too. That's going to make a difference. So cutting it is probably going to lead to a decrease. I would say so. Does the adjustment of the tripod make a lot of ridiculous noise, or is it not too bad? Let me know how it goes. Sandy Sizemore's in here. Excellent. And blue death feigning beetles are related to ironclads, yes, but not super closely. They're different families. Blue death feigning beetles are in the Tenebrionids, and desert ironclad beetles, I believe, are in the Zopharid family. Zopharidae. So they are related, but not super closely. Huh, Clognug. Chinese mantis sitting on a rotten apple. Preferred the wasps or the flies. Interesting. And I've had some smooth death feigning beetles that are pretty blue. There are a few other desert beetles that'll be pretty blue as well. Rain catchers with all sorts of critters in them, huh, Kevin? That's cool. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, Natty, about the plants. Yeah. That makes sense. Look at that. We've got 39 people in the stream and 39 likes. Not bad at all. Can't complain about that. Oh, now 38. But at least we still have 39 likes. So, how would you feel if I move just a couple of things to see if we can see a few more beetles? Oh, okay. So they're to prevent runoff. That's cool. And I could see you finding some interesting things in a place like that. Do you get things that are aquatic that because of standing water? Quesadilla Wizard, hello. Oh, and it's coming in more clear now, Kevin. Excellent. I have a little feeding door, and I'm going to see if I can play around with that. Just see what's hiding under stuff, because a lot of times there's a ton of beetles hiding under things. I'm really surprised we're not seeing any Eusadius Murakatus. Oh, there's one. If I can get it out without getting sprayed here with its repugnatorial fluid. I don't know if you can even see that in the stream, but I will move things around so you can. I like to make sure these critters have a lot of places to hide. Yep, I don't think it sprayed me, which is awesome. I don't really like the scent. I've got a number of these Eusadius Murakatus. Let's see. Ooh, shield bugs. Yeah, those look cool too. And they also smell very bad. Oh, I think I just scared a beetle very badly. You can see my rough death feigning beetle in the back. Let's see if I can get this one moving. This one's feigning death right now. I'm not sure what species that is. If it's Eusadius or something like it, I'm not sure. Let's see. So Clognog, I do notice. Oh, just lost my lights. Let me see if I can fix that. I think it's just the timer went off. I didn't. Yep, that's all it is. Just the timer. Okay. What was I talking about? Oh, I see Mr. and Mrs. Morelli just popped in with a super chat. Well, welcome and thank you for saying hi. Only beetles here from a bunch of mealworms that pupated quicker than expected, bought from a local reptile show. Guess we're raising a mealworm farm now. Well, you might as well. It's a good source of food if you have anything that's going to eat them, and they're just fun to watch even if you're not. But I guess if you bought them, you have something that's going to eat them. So that's awesome. I appreciate the super chat, and I appreciate you coming by as always. Mr. and Mrs. Morelli are great supporters of the channel. So thank you so much. What are you feeding them to, by the way? Not that you'll be feeding the beetles, but what are you farming them for now? Oh yeah, Clogna, I was just going to say velvet ants tend to hide a little bit more seasons like this. Oh, we got a blue death feigning beetle found the dog food. Let's zero in on that and see if we get some feeding behavior. Oh, maybe I scared it off. Okay, we got 45. Awesome. That was a pretty good like spike, everybody. Thank you. So Kevin gets the redback salamanders, different types of larvae, and some garters and brown snakes too. Awesome. I wish I could find that much diversity in rain catchment areas around my place. So, small water guy. Do velvet ants climb the glass? Do you need a lid? Velvet ants can climb glass to a limited extent. Generally, I find out that newly metamorphosed velvet ants can climb glass better than older ones, and they eventually stop doing it, whether the little pads on their feet wear down or what, but they stop doing it. So once they've been in an enclosure for a while, it's usually not that big of a deal, but I do have a lid, and I do recommend one because they can climb at certain times. Oh, moth meats. 30 beetles in a 40-gallon. That's awesome. And you could probably do more beetle density if you wanted to in there, but that's a pretty good mix there. They zoom. Yes, they do. Okay, crested geckos and tokay geckos. Awesome. Yeah, you'll be able to get... they are so easy to raise, and I just raise them all together in one tub, use cocoa fiber or something like that with a lot of leaf litter in there, and then feed them well with things like dry dog food and vegetable bits, and they'll breed like crazy in there, and they won't really hurt each other too much. Oh, Wally's in the house. Welcome and good evening. Wally's got a stream coming up for the 12 surprise days of Christmas. It's tonight, right? Like, is it an hour after this stream is over? I think. And everybody should check that out if they weren't already going to do so. Definitely should. Going to be some awesome giveaways. Clognog recently got a baby green lynx spider. That's cool. I have never kept lynx spiders. I haven't kept very many spiders, to be honest. Though I find them interesting and would keep more if I could get away with it. I'm going to just check out what the beetles are doing over here. That one beetle is in that defensive posture. It looks like it might move. Okay. Yeah, I hope you get the mealworm farm going, Mr. and Mrs. Morelia. The main thing is make sure there's always plenty of air circulation to keep mites out and to keep things from molding and keep things from getting too moist. Make sure that there's always something hydrating for them to eat in there, though, because once they run low on hydration, they get more cannibalistic. If you got that all going, you should be good. Oh, Theropod Hunter, sorry to see they stopped exhibiting the giant isopods. Those are fantastic. We have some in our aquarium here, about an hour or so away from me, even less than an hour maybe, 45 minutes. Oh, I miss keeping jumping spiders. It's been a while since I've had one. I love them. The main issue with keeping them is that my wife doesn't want to keep flies in the house, and flies are really the best food for them. So, makes it tricky. I've had them take like crickets and mealworms and stuff, no problem. It's just they don't seem to do as well on them. So during the summer when I can go outside and catch nice, healthy, fresh flies, they do great. Even into the fall and the spring, whenever you can catch flies outside. But once I can't catch flies anymore, and I have to start feeding other foods, they don't do as well. So I kind of don't keep them as much anymore for now. So Dallin, does jellied cranberry sauce work as a beetle jelly? I don't know. That's a good question. It is kind of on the acidic side, and I feel like most of the beetle jellies are probably not that acidic. But I wouldn't be too surprised. Ooh, Wally, good question. I'm not sure if she would or not tolerate the black soldier flies, because then if I could just get I could buy some black soldier fly larvae and get them to hatch, that would be a different thing, and I can do that at room temperature. So, She doesn't mind fruit flies as much. I mean, she doesn't like fruit flies, but I've already been raising them for years, and she's kind of used to it. But the house flies are the ones she doesn't like in the house. And I've fed juvenile jumpers, of course, fruit flies. That's basically what you feed them. You can feed them pinhead crickets. I think I may have done that too. But I've kept both P. audax and P. regius, and they're both pretty fantastic. Yeah, I might look into the black soldier flies and see if that's something I can do. It sounds like Wally's suggesting them as being fairly containable, and Mr. and Mrs. Murley would love to see me do that. That would be pretty cool. I don't know if I can get away with it or not. I'll have to talk to my wife and see what she says. Haven't done a lot with black soldier fly larvae. I thought about making one of those setups outside, the self-harvesting black soldier fly setups. The thing is, black soldier flies don't really do well in my area, and so I can buy them at the pet store as phoenix worms or calcium worms or whatever, I can do that. But if you live in an area where black soldier fly larvae come from, you can set up those self-harvesting, it's basically a composting bin that larvae will pour out of into a catchment enclosure, and you can feed that directly to your chickens, or you can collect it for other creatures. It's really cool, but in my area they don't really do that well outside. So clognog's mantises don't seem to like the black soldier fly larvae. Interesting. I do love these big old Eleotis armata. The two big ones in here, the ones right in the front and center right now, are ones that I got from Bugs in Cyberspace he sent me. I can collect what appears to be the same species in my area, but they don't get quite as big. I'm not sure. The one on the left is the one he sent me, I know for sure. The one on the right may be one that I collected that's almost as big. I can collect them just up in the hills by my house. But I'm not sure if that's one he sent me or not. There's one kind of back behind the cholla wood that I know is one I collected. Looks like one of the blue death fanning beetles is going to go for the dog food as well. Sweet. I was hoping to see that. I'm going to answer 2 Patreon questions. I'm remiss in my duty to answer Patreon questions. So Aqua Garden Zen says, was saying how he loved how fuzzy the velvet Zens are, and my human instinct to pet anything fuzzy is probably a bad idea. With these, like the time I thought it would feel nice to pet a puss moth caterpillar. Boy, was I a child that learned things the hard and excruciating way. Yeah, those hurt a lot. They have basically, it's kind of like the urticating hairs on a tarantula. The little hairs have a venom in them that injects into your skin and it's super painful. So I'm sorry that happened. But yeah, velvet ants are actually super chill. They're not aggressive. They're not likely to sting you if you touch them. But if you were to try to hold one down, it probably would sting you. But if you just tried to touch it, it probably would not. They tend to be like one of the most chill wasps I've ever seen, probably because they can afford to be, because if anything does threaten them, they can defend themselves very successfully. So Patchpaw, really new patron, said, I really lucked out and got 3 blue death fanning beetles today. I already love the little deers, but I haven't found any information on when to clean out their cage, from waste and such. Will you please address that in an upcoming video? Okay, so I will say that, first of all, because blue death fanning beetles live in such a dry environment, that cleaning up after them is not extremely, it's not an extremely high maintenance, high frequency sort of thing that you do. It really isn't. I've had enclosures that were perfectly fine after about a year without replacing the sand and stuff. You could probably go longer in most cases. Seriously, it's really a kind of a low maintenance thing. The humidity is super low. They're pretty good at extracting a lot of nutrients from their food, and it just does not seem to be a big issue. So I would say it depends on how crowded your enclosure is, the size of your enclosure in relation to the bioload of the beetles, what else you're keeping with them and whatnot. But in general, if you have an inch or two of nice dry sand in there and it's not super overcrowded, you could probably do fine without any issues whatsoever, changing the sand once a year, and you could probably get away with doing it less often. Oh, Sherry Edwards in the house as well. Welcome. Yeah, the dog food, I don't do it all the time, like I said, especially not wet dog food. I usually have some dry dog food in here, but yeah, they really do seem to like it a lot, so definitely worth a shot. And I just get this at the, in the bulk section, this dog food, in small quantities, and feed it out. I give it to my mealworms, I give it to my superworm beetles, they love it. The superworm beetles are even more excited about it, not even wet, just dry, than these beetles are. I throw it in and they're just all over it. The larvae too. Clognug. And once the weather changes, you'll probably get some cheaper shipping rates from Bugs in Cyberspace. It's just right now the weather is such that it's better to use, secure, faster forms of shipping. But I can't recommend Bugs in Cyberspace enough. They're fantastic. Bugs in Cyberspace. A lot of creatures that I've gotten from Bugs in Cyberspace, a lot of supplies I've gotten from Bugs in Cyberspace. Always been happy with it. And I would also say that Bugs in Cyberspace is also Shapes in Nature and Bugs in Cyberspace together are Sky Island Adventures. And that was an absolutely fantastic adventure I had this last summer with Peter and Jesse and others. John Skierski was there the whole time, and there were others too. We had so much fun going through the desert and finding all sorts of interesting creatures, from bats to peccaries to scorpions to Scolopendra hero centipedes, all kinds of creatures. It was so much fun. And you can do it. You can have an experience like that. You sign up for an experience. You fly in to Arizona, or you could drive in, and then they'll take you on the adventure based on what you want. Custom build you an adventure there. So it's so cool. So cool. So Kevin, are there certain native invertebrates you aren't allowed to collect out there? Good question. Probably. I know there are certain places where I can't collect certain invertebrates. For example, there's some reserves where I can't collect anything. The laws in invertebrates in Utah are not very strict for a lot of things. Shipping things out of state is a totally different thing, but as far as collecting them, once I wanted to collect something at a state park and I talked to the ranger, personally talked to the ranger and said, I would like to collect a blue deathfang beetle in this state park. And the ranger said, yes, you can. Only one, but you can collect one. So, you sometimes just by talking to someone, you can get those things figured out. But there are probably some other rules about some other creatures that I'm not thinking about. You have to be careful about some. But those are just some things that come to my head, I guess. I love the velvet ants too. I really do. They're gorgeous. And I try to let people know that when they see velvet ants out in the wild, don't hurt them. Don't try to step on them. They're not after you. They're not going to hurt you. The only way they're going to hurt you is if you hurt them first, pretty severely. Okay. So ribbity reptiles, which is the most active or fun to watch desert beetle you've kept or would recommend it as a display pet? Well, I certainly love the blue death feigning beetles. They are pretty active and interesting to watch. The Eleotis armata, which is the one on the left here, that's not armata, that's obscurus, Eleotis obscurus, is also really up there. They're also very active and maybe probably even more active in the daytime than a blue death feigning beetle. They get nice and big and fantastic. So that's another one that I say too. And Sherry gives veggies, jelly cups. Yeah, those are all great foods too. I'll give mine. I was talking about my jelly cup over here that I give them all the time. And in the corner you can see some dried veggies from when I was feeding them earlier. So yep, I give those foods as well, and they like those. It's good to mix it up, definitely. So Patch, do you have to clean out the cage because of waste? Not often. Depending on the bioload, maybe once a year. I do clean out the food a lot more often. Like before the stream, I cleaned out some of the veggie bits. Not because they pose a problem when they sit there dry, they're not going to mold or anything, but just because aesthetically it's not as pleasing to have a big pile of dried carrots and sweet potatoes and things like that. But I do that. And let's see. So Clognog. Yeah, that's true. Once the desert beetle dies, it does tend to fall apart, but they're pretty good at holding water, especially ones like the blue death feigning beetle. They're one of the best at retaining water. Their elytrae are completely sealed, and they can go for months without additional water. So Dallin, the pet store employee where I got my beetle, said people often keep them with desert hairy scorpions because the scorpions can't penetrate their armor. Seemed crazy, but what are your thoughts? That seems to be a common thing. They do seem to tend to do well in with desert hairy scorpions. I've heard at least one account of them eating a desert hairy scorpion eating a blue death feigning beetle. I was not there, didn't see it, heard someone talk about it, but in general they seem to do really well together. And that's not necessarily true about some of the other beetles. The blue death feigning beetles are pretty heavily armored, and some of the other beetles are eaten by the desert hairy scorpions. Okay, let's see. Oh, Wally's back, excellent. And Aqua Garden Zen is back. Okay, so how are the multis? I have a big colony. They did really well once I added those F2s. I got the genes, a really good mix of genes, and now I don't have any of the short-bodied ones that were showing up in the original colony anymore. They're breeding, doing well. I've got one. I don't think I have any super tiny fry in there right now, but I have fry of various sizes. I'm actually thinking about selling the entire colony though, and the reason why is not because I don't want my multis, because I do, and it's making me sad thinking about selling them. But the reason why is because, well, there are two reasons. One is because I don't really sell them because I don't like catching them and taking them out of the enclosure. It's a huge pain. And I have sold a few, but I don't sell them very much. And so I kind of have to justify the use of the space to some degree. And if I'm not selling them, it's kind of hard to do. And then the other one is that, well, that being the case, then yeah, I think Steenfod Aquatics just said it. Hey, Bob's in the house. Welcome. He was saying multis get out of hand fast. They kind of do. And if I'm not selling them very often, that's an issue. And even though it's a 29-gallon tank and it can handle a decent amount of multis, there's a limit. Probably got, I don't know, 50 something there. I'm not sure. And so I have a little bit of room, but, and like I said, I have thinned them out occasionally, sold off some. But the thing is, I need more space for snakes, for my garter snake breeding projects. And that's the space I have. I have to make a decision, kind of a hard decision there. So I'm thinking that's what I'm probably going to do. Because I'm running out of space in here. It's getting nuts. So that's what I'm thinking, I guess. But I will miss them. So Sherry is asking about the velvet ants. Mine are super busy as long as they have the basking light over here, and then they have a lot of light in general. That seems to keep them super busy, even during the winter. Once in a while I'll have one disappear for a few days. But, and it also depends on the species too, but in general, as long as they have plenty of light and heat, they're active. So Theropod Hunter, I actually do keep some aquatic invertebrates right now. I have some water scorpions. I have a few different types of aquatic snails, and I have aquatic shrimp right now. Mostly I have Halocaridina rubra. They're Hawaiian red shrimp. I have kept so many different kinds of aquatic invertebrates. Many different kinds. Those are the ones that come to my mind right now. I've bred and kept Neocaridina, various types of snails. I could probably talk for quite a while on the different types of aquatic invertebrates I have kept. I keep Daphnia and culture Daphnia. I've cultured Daphnia nonstop for a long time, for years. And I also culture amphipods, scuds. I've also kept, let's see, various types of corals and marine shrimp and marine isopods and marine amphipods and anemones and different things. So kept a lot of aquatic invertebrates of different types. It's probably not even hermit crabs, aquatic hermit crabs. I've done that too. So AB, the large orange velvet ant is Dasymatilla satanis. Dasymatilla satanis. That is the species name. The little ones I think are Dasymatilla vestita. I'm not sure about all of them. I think most of them are Dasymatilla vestita. There's a little one that I haven't seen today. It's kind of got an off-white coloration to it. I'm not sure what that is. No idea really. It's cool. And 503, we do need another room tour soon. It was, the last time I did was 15,000 subscribers, and I'm just about to hit 50,000. So yes, need to do that. It's been a while. Hashtag already missed the multis. Yes, and I might be able to figure something out. I'm gonna keep thinking about it because every time I think about doing it, I mean, I've been thinking about it for a while and haven't done it yet because I don't want to do it. And Kevin, yes, let's do it. Let's talk about the garter snake breeding. So 503, yeah, it's a lot easier to get a hold of marine isopods in the U.S. You can go to any store that sells live rock for marine aquaria and get marine isopods. It's harder to get the freshwater ones. The freshwater ones I collected about an hour and a half from here or so, probably less than that, about an hour's drive from here when I was a kid in a ditch near where my parents, actually in the same neighborhood where my parents still live, because they lived in that neighborhood then, and this was, 35 years ago or something, a long time ago. Just in an irrigation canal or ditch near their house, I found these isopods, and I brought them home, put them in my aquarium. I didn't have any fish in my aquarium yet because I was trying to cycle it, and the fish, or the isopods were breeding in it. I did fine until I put some newts in there, and the newts ate them. So that was my first experience breeding isopods. Oh, there's my rough death feigning beetle. So guaranine, if Scuds. Have you watched my video on breeding scuds? Because the scuds that I breed, Hyalella azteca, seem super easy. So House of Creatures, how old are your velvet ants? No way of knowing. No way of knowing. This particular group of velvet ants come from two different sources. Bugs in Cyberspace sent me all the smaller ones back in, was it August or September? I think it was September. And the larger one, my cousin brought me right about that same time, August or September, something like that. My cousin on Instagram and YouTube, he's the bees in your backyard. So, but there's no way to tell exactly what age they are because, you know, they're not captive bred, unfortunately. Unlike most of the creatures I keep, they're not captive bred. The velvet ants, you can tell in some general ways how old they are by their jaws, because they tend to dig a lot with their jaws, and their jaws tend to wear out. They wear down like teeth in some animals will. So over time, if you have some that have very eroded jaws, you can tell they're older, and also they tend to lose their setae or their hairs over time. My cousin said he found one that was almost bald, like a just shiny black velvet ant that had lost almost all of its setae. So that is, those are some ways, but they're just sort of general. And Sherry loves the red-sided garters. They are beautiful and fun to watch. Well, that's lovely to hear. Sherry got her red-sided garters from me. I think, did you buy 4 of them, Sherry? Was that what you did? I was thinking you bought 2 and then 2 more. That was my recollection of how it went. And they must have grown quite a bit now and be quite a bit bigger. Let's see. Here's one of mine. One of my red-sided garters. The lighting is crummy to see here. This guy was going to go down into brumation today. I might still put him in brumation today. I might wait till tomorrow. But brumation is imminent. Okay, let's see. So marine isopods. If you go to a marine aquarium store, or a store that sells marine aquarium live rock, that live rock is going to have a bunch of isopods on it. And most of those will thrive in a nice, healthy marine aquarium. And they're tough enough that you can cycle the aquarium by putting that live rock in, and the isopods will thrive through that process of cycling. And I have kept quite a few that way. They don't get particularly large, the ones that you'll find in the live rock. Most of them will stay pretty small, but they will tend to thrive in captivity. They just serve as a cleanup crew in marine aquaria and as a food item for the vertebrates and other creatures you keep in there. So yeah, people kind of take them for granted in the marine hobby that they're just going to show up. They don't even bother to distinguish between isopods and amphipods most of the time. They just say pods. I've got a bunch of pods in here from my live rock. My fish are eating it, that kind of thing. So. Okay, so marine isopods, talked about that. So ribbity reptiles, trying to figure out what to do with the massive amounts of powder orange and powder blues. If you have far too many and local folks can't take enough of them, you may want to use them as feeders for something, because they do make excellent feeders for a lot of small amphibians and things like that, as well as some small reptiles. I never have that problem because I sell enough that I can't keep up with them. I have hundreds and hundreds of that species in various color varieties, but I never have too much. Never have too many, I should say. So Kevin, your red spotted, is that the cocinus? Is fat because you were feeding adult mice once a week and getting tubby. Awesome. My female is, I've only fed her adult mice maybe once or twice. I was feeding pinkies and fuzzies before that, and I fed her an adult recently and she ate it. That was not super recently because the last time I fed them was around Halloween, because then I started cooling them. So So Supreme Gecko Wally has a question about how I get my garters to Brewmate. So the first thing I do is right around October 31st-ish, Halloween, I give them their last meal. And then for about 2 weeks, I keep them on, normal. They get normal basking spots and everything, so their temperatures do not decrease for about 2 weeks so that they will digest their food completely and get rid of it, pass everything, so there's nothing in their digestive tracts, because you don't want to put something in brumation with something in its digestive tract. That's disaster waiting to happen, of course. So, sorry, trying to find if there's a more interesting spot to look at. We can look at this basking spot and see what's going around over there. Anyway, so I do that for about 2 weeks, and then for another 2 weeks or so, I turn down the temperature a little bit. So basically, I turn off their basking light, and still have a UVB light and a plant light in there, so it's closer to room temperature, and it cools things down a little bit. It starts telling their bodies it's time to start slowing down, and then after that, I put them outside in the garage in a tub inside another tub, and under the main tub is a heater, a Visitherm heater on a thermostat for 50 degrees. So if it gets too cold, it will warm them up. The bottom of their tub is a little cooler than that, so the bottom of their tub that they're in, because it's on top of the heater, is probably like 47 degrees or something. And then they can go to the cool end of the tub, and it gets down into the low 40s or even the high 30s, but no cooler than that, because it's insulated well. I've got lots of insulating layers inside the tub, and then that tub is inside, there's a lot of insulation to protect it. And the garage protects it too, because the garage is a lot warmer than the outside world. And that's what I do, keep them in there for a few months. Usually I take them out at the beginning of March, and I might take them out a little earlier this time, maybe mid-February or something, and they do great. I bring them back in the house, warm them up for about a week before they start eating, and then they start eating and mating like crazy. It worked great last year and got loads of babies. Okay, so Sherry, you got a mail. Did you get your mail from Don? So they might be related. Might not. I think he's got a couple different lines of the Montana garters now, but I'm not sure if he had any babies from a different line. Wow. Well, time is running out. Let me see if I had any other questions on Patreon that I needed to answer. So Elena Belaski had a question about breeding velvet ants, captive breeding, and she's wondering if they can breed in captivity, or if that's just too hard. Basically, the difficulty is that they are parasitoids on wasp larvae, so that makes it extraordinarily difficult to breed them in captivity, because how are you going to replicate a wasp nest with a wasp larva in it in captivity? It doesn't seem too practical. So nobody's actually done that, except for, my cousin was telling me about a paper he read where people were able to collect some sand wasp larvae and put it into a species that parasitizes that species under glass in sort of a little burrow thing, like a simulated burrow, and they laid eggs on them, and they were able to get them to pupate and emerge as adults, but they weren't able to get a second generation for whatever reason. I believe that's what he said happened. So not a lot going on there, unfortunately. Okay. So, yeah, well, Sherry, probably not next year maybe, but the year after you probably have some breeding going on then, if you want to. I mean, I'm not sure that's what your plan is, but if you do have a male and several females, you could probably do that. Cool. Well, it is just about time for me to log off. Sorry, the creatures started hiding a little bit more in the last little while for whatever reason. Probably partly because I'm running lights later than they're used to. You can see some running around in the corners and whatnot. But I'm glad you joined in. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Merlia, for the super chats. And I'm just happy to see you all. Welcome. I see that Sherry, Steamfod Aquatics, Aqua Garden Zen, Supreme Gecko. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I don't know, I didn't say everybody's name who was here, but we had a lot of participation, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you next time. And everybody check out Wally's stream. his 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. And there goes the Dasimutilla satanas as we sign off. Take care, everybody.